Okay, here we go again. Okay, I was going to talk a little bit about Steve Bannon. Let me pull the microphone over here a little bit better about Steve Bannon and what's going on with him. You may or may not have heard anything about him lately, like as of yesterday. Yesterday, Bannon was called to testify before a congressional hearing. He'd already promised to go in front of the meeting. In the meantime, he had received a subpoena. We just found out yesterday that he also had received a subpoena from Mueller, who he hasn't addressed properly yet, So he had one, and he's got to go before Mueller, and that's set up for next week, I think. And he's trying to renegotiate it now. But while he was sitting there answering questions, not answering questions from Congress people, and that's really where he kind of jacked himself up. What he was doing was he'd get a question, he refused to answer questions, and he wasn't claiming executive privilege or any reason. He just refused to answer questions. You know why? Because the White House told him not to answer any questions. Now, these are questions regarding the transition, regarding the campaign, the transition team, transitioning into the White House, and afterward. And, Bannon knows all this stuff. He was right in the middle of it. And so he got a subpoena from Mueller. Mueller, we just found out. And Mueller's going to do what he's going to do with it. So he showed up yesterday and was sitting talking to I believe it was a House committee. It was in Congress, anyways. And he didn't answer questions. He said the White House has told me not to answer any questions about this, that, or the other. And these are all lawyers in the room he's talking to, right? All these Congress people, they're pretty much all lawyers. And they're like, wait, you can't do that. You can't just say... So they'd ask him a question. His lawyer would call the White House and say, they're asking me this now. And the White House would say, don't answer it. They weren't giving any reasons for not answering it. This is just wrong. You just can't do this stuff. So you know what they did? While Bannon was sitting there talking to him, not answering their questions and giving him a bunch of crap, they wrote up a subpoena and handed him a subpoena, bam, right there on the spot. He was subpoenaed by the organization, by the congressional group that was talking to him because he wasn't talking to them. So they immediately issued a subpoena. So that's his second subpoena. Now, the first one, like I said, was from Mueller, and that's supposed to happen next week, I think. And now Bannon's trying to backpedal and to get out of going in front of a grand jury. So here's what Mueller did. He issued a grand jury subpoena last week. What that means is that Bannon has to come in front of the grand jury and answer questions. And you're not allowed to lie to a grand jury. That's against the law. It's also against the law to lie to Congress. So he's in Congress trying not to answer any questions because he knows he's going to get in front of the FBI. And if he answers, and you can't not answer their questions, and you can't lie to them. And if the two don't match what he's saying in Congress yesterday, and he was in there for like 10 hours, what he said in Congress and what he's going to say to Mueller. And so the Republicans on the committee in Congress are all giving him softball questions because they don't want him to get stuck in the middle of, lying to them and then lying to the FBI differently or whatever. It's a big, ridiculous game. But the bottom line is this guy, Bannon, holds the keys. And the reason why Mueller wants him to come in a grand jury, like I say, is because it's in the public. Well, not the public, but other citizens other than Republican senators who clearly have no moral or humanistic tendencies at all anymore. It's really weird and sad. Okay, so that's what Bannon's... So there's Bannon's deal today. There's a little more Bannon... a little more information on it. Let me see real quickly here if I can... Oh, yeah, the thing that's new from today is what I talked about, how Bannon would sit there, the Congress would ask him a question, his attorney sitting next to him would call the White House and ask them if he could answer that question. And that's, the Associated Press broke that this morning, that bit of factoid, that not only was he not answering questions, but he was literally calling the White House for each question and being told not to answer them. The White House can't do that. No one can do that. That's obstruction. That is frickin'... What is obstruction if sitting there answering questions and not answering them until the guy who is causing the obstruction shuts it down? I mean, you know, this is... It's like the Grand Old Party, the Republican Party, has become some weird caricature clown group of people who have been so hateful and so cruel for 25 years that they've created this cult of people who believe that everyone hates them as much as they hate us. Let me tell you something, Republicans who may or may not be listening. We don't hate you. We don't care if someone's a Republican or a Democrat. And by we, I mean people that aren't Republicans. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. 42% of the American people identify as no party preference. 42%. Each of the parties, Republican and Democratic, have something like 27% or something. The majority of people in the United States don't identify with a political party, and yet the political parties are the ones that are pretending like everyone, like, you know, they make all the rules and everything. And the one political party, which is no longer a party but more of a cult, a cult of personality, they gave up their morals. Let me tell you about the Republicans growing up. They had morals. They had scruples. They had all, you know, they're the ones that had the stuff going on. You know, they did. First of all, with God, where are you going to start with these people that are just so horrible? They I lost my train of thought. I guess I'm going to wrap it up here. I just wanted to you do your own research, folks. Look up Steve Bannon and look up the Congress and what they're talking about and what's going on, because it's crazy that one side of the Congress, they're not even talking to half the people in the U.S. That's a whole nother thing I'll get into. But do yourself a favor. Don't believe me. Don't believe what you see on Fox or on CNN or on MSNBC. Look it up yourself and look for more than one source. If one source says one thing and all the other sources say something else, you know, you got to give that some weight. As I look through a list of headlines, for instance, in the morning I get up and I kind of plow through all the headlines that may have happened overnight or what have you. I look through maybe 50 headlines and I'll go through 5 or 10, and then one will pop out and it'll be like the opposite of reality. It'll be not true, or it'll be misleading, or it'll be completely misdirecting, and it always says Fox as the contributor. It's like shocking when you look at a list of stories about a subject that it's really easy to pick out the one that is not telling the same story as everyone else, and it's always Fox or I think Newsmax, I think, does it, and there are some other groups, but as far as the big networks go, it's bizarro. I guess that's about it for now. I'm going to keep doing a few of these today. Next, I'm going to, well, I don't know, just keep an eye for my feed and you'll see what I'm going to do next. I'd like to wish everyone a happy day and a good week. And just keep on top of this stuff. Don't give up. If you're getting worn out, that's okay. Take a step back for a few days, or a week if you have to, or 2 weeks. The world isn't stopping. All this stuff is still going on. You need your mental health. Okay, everyone have a great day, and we'll talk to you on another